So Salesforce.com just announced 7,000 layoffs. Amazon just said their number is going to be 15,000. Meta, 10,000. Well, it looks like tech layoffs are coming to the Silicon Valley. But what does it mean? Is it Armageddon? Is it just an opportunity for talent to be maybe diffused into the economy? And to have this conversation, we are bringing on the CEO of Hemlane. How you doing, Dana?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely, folks. And if you don't know this, Dana's actually at the San Francisco airport, so you may hear some announcements going on, but we are just going to do this because it's important to have these conversations each and every week. Thank you so much, Dana.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And also with the weather, I figured this is probably the only place with generators here in San Francisco, as there's the storms across Northern California.
Yeah, it was pretty wild last night. The wind and a couple of lightning or thunder, at least. I assume there was accompanying lightning. But let's talk about tech layoffs. Because I think you can look at these one of two ways, right? You can look at this as the beginning of some tsunami, which was very much like the dot-com era I lived through, which once the trickle started, the dam broke and was a real problem. Or it's actually an opportunity where the Silicon Valley will be actually stronger. And I say Silicon Valley meaning all of tech, because I think what happened in the last 2 years, Dana, is the top 10 tech companies were having an arms race. How many engineers, computer scientists, salespeople, whatever it is, can I hire because I need them for this, that, or the other? Now we have executives saying, I overhired. We had unrealistic expectations. The trend's not our friend. So we have to lay off. I actually think what's happening is that next tier of innovation is gonna soak up those employees super fast because they've been starving for talent. But as a CEO of a tech company, I would love to get your opinion. Are you getting more quality resumes or opportunities? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I'll tell you what we're seeing. And then I've been in both positions. I remember in 2008 very well being on the opposite end of the spectrum. So I would say 12 months ago, it was a fight to get talent. We even had a situation where 6 months ago, we put out an offer to someone who said, no, I'm joining a crypto company. And then we got an email a month ago saying, just kidding, I just got laid off from the crypto company. Is the position still open? And so I do agree that with the talent, for us now, we're seeing a lot more talent that we can get. However, this is one thing I would say. A lot of times when we look at talent and recruiting, we actually look at the folks who are still at those companies where employee morale is low. They were kept there because they were, these really top performers doing 4 people's jobs. And now they're doing 7 people's jobs because of what has happened. But yeah, I would say that the job market has really shifted. And we're finding even top talent that we are recruiting now because, we're doubling our headcount this year. We're doing the opposite of what all the big tech companies are doing. We've had so many people start this week. I can't even, to some extent, keep track of it, right?
Right.
The welcomes coming out. But that is where I would say a couple of things. One is if you are, for anyone out there working in technology, really understand your situation and think about it from the outside. Because I remember being on the opposite side back in 2008. I was an intern. I was the cheapest person on the team that they had to pay, right? By probably I was making half of anyone else on my team. And I remember walking into the office and one of the VPs had said, hey, do you have all the files for what you guys do here? And I said, yeah, I know everything. I can kind of tell you a little bit about what everyone does because I do a little bit of it. And I remember walking in on a Tuesday morning and I think it was 90% of the team was gone. And then they were asking me as the intern, hey, can you go ahead and give me these files and this and that and what people are doing? And then suddenly I started taking on that work and it was great. It was this responsibility that I had always dreamed and had wanted. But I think, as an employee out there, one, you can take control of your financials by investing in real estate, getting into passive income. But the second thing is think about where you are in your org structure. If you're at a company and there's a lot of management layers or 5 directors or VPs, you're, no matter what the person you report to says to you, because they might not be privy of exactly what's going on, they might just be flashing through numbers. And I worked in finance, so I remember doing that. I was given a list of employees. I had no idea who they were. And they said, cut 4 directors. And I sat there with a red marker, having to do that. And it is cutthroat in this time with what is happening with the market. And so you kind of have to look objectively of where you are and set yourself up for, what? I don't know what's going to happen. Even if I ask my manager, hey, is my position safe? They might not even know if their position or yours are. Yeah. Right. So you really just need to take control of that. And I think it has been demoralizing. I have friends who work at Salesforce, who work at Amazon, who have been really, impacted. They fortunately weren't laid off, but people on their team have been. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. And that's where you kind of take a look at this and say, how do I make sure during the next recession that I'm not in this position? I've got this passive income. How do I get to, 10 plus rentals, et cetera?
Yeah, well, again, my whole career started in a crisis, right? Mine was the .com crisis.
Yeah.
It really is a wake up call. And it again, I've been telling people for at least 9 months now, get close to revenue. And I see a lot of people leave comments like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm on this innovation product. It's the wave of the future. It's going to, I'm like, but you're burning $100 million. You know how easy it is to cut that, right? If you're not actually producing this, because again, there's a lot of startups that their number one thing all of a sudden has become cash burn. Yeah. And they need to get the cash flow positive because they can't get another round. If they do, it'll be a nasty down round. So yeah, you may be super excited about your widget that you're working on, but it could be gone tomorrow. I've had to make those decisions.
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's way more pain. We've seen it in the past 12 months. A lot of the pain, we've seen these layoffs. This is not a new story. But it is a reminder, especially with these the big 5, right, that they talk about, tech companies really going through and making these announcements. You have to expect more. It's going to be a bleak year. And look from the outside in of where you are. You're right, Michael. If you're the one who's making a lot of the revenue, they're not going to let you go if you're the top sales performer. But otherwise, it is, I think, from my perspective, being on a team, and especially a larger team, and now moving to a smaller team, I actually realized, wait, they could let me go and it wouldn't change the projection of the company back then, right? Like I thought I was so important and all of that, but they could have let me go and it would not have changed the revenue of these companies I worked for. And so you do want to be in one of those revenue generating roles. And it's scary to say, but start having those conversations and also understand your company. Like you should understand, how much cash do you guys have in the bank? What is your burn rate? What is your revenue? Because there's something called the burn multiple of like, how much revenue are you generating versus how much cash are you burning? And for tech companies, you need to be at a 1. So if you're at a 3, you can guarantee, most likely it's not going to change on the revenue side. That's more difficult to change for them. It's going to change on the cash burn side. Absolutely. And how do they get rid of cash burn? The easiest thing to do is headcount because it's the most expensive line item.
Yeah.
And so
it's immediately accretive. You just, nope, not here anymore.
Yeah. So it is really important to take care of that. Also for those on this channel, obviously you hopefully have rental properties already got in. If not, think about taking control of your financials here. But I would also say on the property management side, understand how your property manager is doing, making sure that they're not too burnt out with staff, and can they hire more, and are they losing clients at all, which might impact their financial situation. Have these conversations and, be upfront that you want transparency with it, because it is important to make sure that your financials are working for you. It's nice to be in real estate because you're not, with what's happening with the stock market that we've seen, you have much more control over your rentals.
Yeah. And then the last thing I would tell people, because again, this is the 3rd or 4th one of these I've been through, and I think this one's going to be longer. than the average is over communicate. Morale, it's going to suffer, and the only cure for that is communication, listening. You can't communicate enough in this environment, and yeah, take this, and then when you go home at night, realize that your job is also to take care of your family. Look for whether it's rental properties or side hustles, or what maybe you need to change jobs because you think your employer is going to go out of business. It's a tough time. Make sure you take care of yourself.
And it's much easier to change jobs when you're not laid off. When
Exactly.
you say that you've been laid off, automatically another employer who you are interviewing with thinks, were you part of the bottom, 10,
Yeah,
20%? You
10%.
may not be. You may not be. I've been in a situation, like I said, where I was just redlining names
Yep.
because we had to make numbers. So that's not necessarily true. You could be a rock star who was laid off,
Mhm.
but they don't know that on the other side. And so, what you really want to do is, if you think there is a situation where your company is not doing well, you should be out there also just opportunistically having conversations. And those same questions you ask your current employee, you ask the next one.
Yep.
How much runway do you have, and everything else?
There you go. Well, Dana, thank you very much. Thank you for doing this from San Francisco Airport. If somebody wanted to get the trial, where would they go?
Yeah. So on the property management side, if you're looking for alternative property management here, you can use Hemlane. We have a 30-day free trial. We offer both software and services, and you can go to www.hemlane.com. You also get 20% off by listening to this channel. So please do make sure that you mention Michael Zuber when we say, how did you hear about us? Or one rental at a time.
So good. Thank you very much.